We are already live on
I'm going to lower the music.
lower.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
You need to take it closer to your mouth because I don't control the volume for that.
Good evening, everybody. Very well, welcome to the University of Johannesburg. Thank you for coming out tonight. Firstly, just a few housekeeping points before we do kick off the program. I ask that everybody does switch to silent before the commencement. We wouldn't like to interrupt. We wouldn't like to interrupt the remarkable guests that we have here tonight. And thirdly, please remember there will be a refreshments and networking session after the presentations. My name is Pratik, and I have the privilege to serve you as Program Director for this evening's proceedings. Today, we mark the soft launch of Kadamba Africa, and I want to be honest with you about the word soft. There is nothing soft about the ambition in this room. What we are launching this afternoon, is a South African company built on green nanotechnology, on nano Ayurvedic medicine, and on the conviction that the science that heals Africa should also be made in Africa, researched in Africa, and owned in Africa. So effectively, small particles, large intentions. Allow me now to observe a bit of protocol to welcome our distinguished guests this evening, Professor Patrick Njobe of his University Department of Biotechnology and Food Technology, and for allowing us to host here tonight. Thank you. Professor Kattesh V. Katti, our distinguished visitors from Kadamba, India, the board and leadership of Kadamba Africa, led by Chief Mashudu Chivase, honored representatives of our lovely nation, members of the academic research community and colleagues from the medical and healthcare professions, practitioners of traditional and integrative medicine, everybody listening on the live stream, and of course, to everyone else sitting in the crowd today. So I will set the scene for what we are about to hear. Africa carries a disproportionate share of the world's disease burden while manufacturing a very small share of the world's medicine. This is not a new observation. What is new is the proposition being put to you this evening, that a continent extraordinarily rich in botanicals such as rooibos, marula, moringa, etc., combined with a technology that can deliver those botanicals at a scale of billionths of a meter, represents not just a health opportunity, but an industrial one. Kadamba Africa's portfolio spans beauty, health, functional foods, hospital-grade disinfectants, and many other items to be disclosed as we move forward. Behind it sits patented nano Ayurvedic technology, and ahead of it sits planned Kadamba research and innovation centers to be built in partnership with African universities and African hospitals. Which brings me as to why we are sitting in this particular room, at this particular university. This partnership with the University of Johannesburg is not a photograph, it is a working relationship, and the gentleman I'm about to call is the living proof of it. Who is Professor Patrick Njobe, and what does he bring to today's program? To welcome him formally, I want to introduce a man who sits on both sides of this partnership at once. Professor Patrick Njobe is a full professor of food safety in the Department of Biotechnology and Food Technology here at the University of Johannesburg. He is also a member of the operations team of Kadamba Africa. So when we say this is a partnership between a company and a university, you should understand that in at least one case, the partnership is a single person. His journey to the podium is worth a moment of your attention. Professor Njobe was born in the village of Nso in the northwest province of Cameroon. He took his first degree in agriculture in Nigeria. he managed an animal farm in Douala. He completed his Master of Science in Animal Nutrition at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and then he came to this university, at that point known as the Technikon of the Witwatersrand, where he completed his Doctor of Technology in Biomedical Tech in 2010. He never really left. He was appointed a senior lecturer in 2012, became an associate prof in 2017, and rose to full professor in May 2020. With that in mind, no further ado, I welcome Professor Njobe. Thank you.
Yeah, we are live on the X.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody, and thank you. I have a very, very short time, but I just want to touch a little bit here, a little bit there. It's fine. Okay. Thank you so much. And I'm glad to be part of this meeting this evening. I would just like us to have a discussion on emerging challenges and innovations in food safety across Africa. My name is Patrick Joy, and I'm a professor here at the University of Johannesburg. And I'm the head of the Mycotoxin and Food Safety Unit here in this university. I just want to really welcome each and everyone, the notables, the chiefs, and also I would like to acknowledge the presence of Professor Katti that I've worked for quite a while with. That is, he's visiting us from the University of Missouri in the US. So my presentation online will just be looking at definition and concepts as far as mycotoxin contamination is concerned. I'm also going to be talking about identification of emerging challenges, and then look at general innovations and research efforts that we have at the University of Johannesburg addressing food safety. And then I would also like to link green nanotechnology as a component of what we are doing. First of all, what are mycotoxins? Mycotoxins are toxic secondary metabolites. We can just simply say they are poisons that are produced by fungi when they attack our various food and feed commodities. Then the second thing remains that they cause serious health and economic problems. Health problems are quite challenging as far as mycotoxins are concerned, and more than 300 to 400 mycotoxins have been identified or discovered and characterized so far. And I would like to call our attention that South Africa has done or has played a very key role in the discoveries and efforts made towards addressing the mycotoxin problem. First of all, we have the five significant mycotoxins. We say big five. And among these big five, we have aflatoxin, that is the most potent carcinogen, naturally occurring carcinogen. And then we have fumonisin, and we have the Aukland toxins that we have discovered right here in South Africa. Now, these are the pathways of mycotoxin contamination in food. It begins even within in the field, during harvesting, and also post-harvest, right? And they continue to be produced in food, especially during storage when conditions are favorable for their production. As I mentioned, there are the big five mycotoxins. Aflatoxin is a group that is the most potent naturally occurring. Then you have the fumonisin, you have the ochratoxin. Fumonisin and ochratoxins, as I mentioned earlier, they were discovered here in South Africa. For fumonisin, it was in 1988, but for the ochratoxin, it was in 1961. Then you have the zearalenone that is oestrogenic, looks like estrogen, where you can a hormone, but it causes a lot of reproductive issues as far as animals and humans are concerned. Then you have the deoxynivalenol, which are within the trichoticeps. Now let's look at the contributing factors that aggravate mycotoxin contamination in various food and feed commodities. Climate. So the various ecophysiological factors, we will not go into that. Various farming systems, agricultural practices, some of them they aggravate mycotoxin contamination. And then one other key issue is we are going to really look how mycotoxins are dictated. We will not go into that, but we will deal with that as far as Prof. Katti is concerned. So climate change that we are experiencing currently, they are aggravating mycotoxin contamination, and we should note that in the nearest future, because every 5-6 years there is an increase of at least 0.5 degrees as far as temperature is concerned, degrees centigrade. So we can imagine what will be happening in 50 to 100 years to come. So let's look at some of the general innovations to mycotoxin mitigation in food systems and research efforts that we have as far as my research unit is concerned. First, we've looked into prevention and control, and this is one of the true fermentation, and this is one of the methods that we've been employing in order to control mycotoxin contamination in food. This is one of the papers that we published. We will not really talk into details. Then we also employ nixtamalization. This is a very common cooking practice in South America, where we use wood ash to cook our various food products. And we found out that through this process, we can be able to reduce the mycotoxin content considerably during cooking. And then we also apply thermal degradation and numerical modeling approaches in order to understand the extent of mycotoxin contamination in food. And that is one of the papers that we published. We've also worked on using microbes in order to deactivate or degrade mycotoxins. These are some of the publications that emanated from some of this work. And then we've also employed nanotechnology, where we've optimized use commercial antibiotic agents that then produce good nanoparticles. And then we look at the toxicity to deactivate mycotoxin production by aspergillus flavus that produce aflatoxin. We've also employed, it's just the same thing. Now, collaborating opportunities. You can see the video that was being shown there. And thanks to Prof. Katti that organized a 2-day workshop in our lab, and we have used various medicinal plants here in South Africa and produce both gold nanoparticles along with silver nanoparticles. And we will see some of it. Once we see color change as they are being produced, then we know that it's effective and we can employ them for various applications, including as antimicrobial agents and also various applications in medicine, in treatment of colorectal cancer, treatment of breast cancer, prostate cancer, and Katti has already inventions that have been commercialized, including by various companies in the US, including Kadamba India, that is part of this meeting this evening. So there are a lot of opportunities that we can really employ in working towards that, and there are ongoing collaborative efforts between Kadamba, Africa, Ghana, India, University of Missouri, and all other institutions, because I believe so much in collaboration. Nobody can function effectively if you are alone. So you collaborate. I think this evening we'll listen more on what Prof. Katti will say and what Kadamba Africa will say, and see how we can really get ourselves together in addressing some of the issues that we have or we find ourselves nowadays. I hope I didn't take much of your time. Thank you so much. No question. No question, right?
No. Question and answer is after.
Thank you so much.
Can I introduce Professor Katti?
Professor Njobe, thank you so much. We now have the welcome and we have the setting. Let me begin by introducing our keynote speaker, Professor Kattesh Katti. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my great honor to introduce our keynote speaker as mentioned. I want to confess something to you. When I was asked to introduce this gentleman, I was handed his biography and told to keep the introduction to 3 minutes. The biography is multiple pages long. The awards section alone begins in 1985 and has not stopped since. Somewhere around the 4th page, I realized I had a choice. Introduce Professor Katti properly or let him actually speak. In the interest of everyone here, and frankly in the interest of ensuring we do what is best for everyone, I have chosen the second. So here's the quick abridged version. Professor Katti is the Distinguished Curator's Professor of Radiology at the University of Missouri, where he directs both the Institute of Green Nanotechnology and the Cancer Nanotechnology Platform. He is known throughout the world as the father of green nanotechnology, a title conferred on him by the Nobel laureate Norman Borlaug. He is the discoverer of nano-Ayurvedic medicine, an entirely new medical modality on which the United States Patent and Trademark Office granted the first ever patent in 2025. That discovery was recognized by the Prime Minister of India. He is the winner of the International Heavy Sea Medal, widely regarded as the Nobel Prize of Nuclear Science. He has represented the United States of America at the United Nations International Atomic Energy Agency in Vienna, chairing a research program spanning 22 member nations. He is an elected Fellow of the Royal Society of Chemistry, the American Association for the Advancement of Science, the National Academy of Inventors, and the American Institute for Medical Biological Engineering. He is the first immigrant American to receive the Outstanding Missourian Award. He has published over 300 papers. He is the principal inventor on more than 150 inventions, over 50 patents. He has delivered more than 500 invited and plenary lectures in 25 countries. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome Professor Katti. Thank you. HDMI input. Just connect here. You don't need that, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think we need to.
You want to extend or you
Entire screen.
Right. Yes. Start. Just a minute.
Just 1 second. Why? Should we use another one? This one?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because I was only given this. Okay.
Well, it doesn't connect. Oh, is it? Okay.
Copy your flash.
What we connect?
Yeah, you
To
have
that?
to. Yeah, you have
Yeah.
to load it to here.
Yeah. So let's take this one.
Okay, this one is connected. So you can drop it there, and then you present
From here?
Yeah.
Oh, I need to use a zip drive or no, my lecture is here, or
lecture.
or just use the zip drive.
Okay. Why is it going on mine and not going? Let me try again on yours. Okay, let me try this one.
Okay.
This is the power plug.
Yeah, now it's exactly it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was coming. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Yeah, just
I think the speaker was a little loud. We can reduce it a little bit.
Hello. Can you reduce it a little bit?
Volume
It's quite loud.
of nothing.
Just a little. Yeah.
Is it okay?
Yeah, that's good. So let's put this one. Okay.
Just a moment. Oh, it's on the. Sorry, it's picking this one. It's picking this.
Just take it out otherwise. It's working, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Leave it like that. Let's see if we can put that. I think without touching anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why doesn't allow that? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. One second. Sorry about that. First of all, we apologize for the delay. There are many reasons. I'm sure our people will stick to timings next time around. Pratik, thank you for a very elaborate introduction. At the outset, I would like to start thanking dignitaries here who have gathered for this Augustus evening. I would like to thank respected Highness, various kings, I was told, we have gathered here with queens from different African kingdoms. Welcome. I would like to thank what we lovingly call as Chief Koshi Ashuru. I hope I didn't destroy your name. And our collaborator, Professor Patrick, Professor Femi, the Associate Dean for International Engagement, my friend Daphne, all the members of the Kadamba, South Africa. This is supposed to be a soft launch. Join hands with me in congratulating Kadamba, South Africa unit. They're putting a great show here. For the first time, they are bringing some of the very unique technologies I'm going to talk about today. Stop me anytime if you don't understand. I will try to keep it as simple as possible. It's not easy often, but I do deliver lectures to people who are significantly more brilliant than scientists. That means all of you. Yeah. So with that, today we're going to talk about
just a brief outlay about the collaboration we have started with University of Johannesburg, particularly with the Department of Biotechnology and Food Technology, and that collaboration from the Johannesburg side, UJ side, is spearheaded by Professor Patrick and Professor Kami. And the collaboration has really yielded some very fruitful dividends in less than 2 years. We're already talking about establishing an Institute of Green Nanotechnology here. I'm sure you'll learn more about this from Professor Kami, Professor Patrick in due course of time. Concept paper has been developed, lots of details are being filled in. Just a disclosure, this is something we always do. Almost everything what I'm presenting today has been licensed to Kadamba. The name of the company is Kadamba. It is located in Bangalore, India. All patents have been licensed to that company. In fact, the presentation what I'm going to provide to you today about the products, about the technologies, all that science has been licensed to a company. But just to be sure, that's what we display in the disclosure. We do not own any shares or stocks or ownership in the Apple company, so we have no financial interest. We're strictly scientists. We innovate and then help Apple company to take inventions and technologies to the marketplace. I'm going to describe that journey. If we are able to do so successfully, putting 40 plus products in the market, I'm sure, I'm very convinced that scientists here in UJ, with lots of local help, will be able to achieve similar level of success. Just a brief thing about my university is one of the oldest universities, the first university west of Mississippi, started close to 200 years ago. And we do a lot of things that are common to the culture here in South Africa. For example, we tackle diverse problems because Missouri is a diverse state, from the southern Ozarks to the northern plains. And we are proud to call ourselves a zoo, where black and gold runs deep, and human, the tiger embodies our gold spirit. The only sad thing is we do not have live tigers. So you have to come all the way here to see and witness the beautiful live tigers. There's a small difference. Just a brief history about our success, the journey we have taken in my institution. Started way before I was recruited in my institution. And we have so many medical products for imaging the brain, understanding the brain function. If there is a brain disorder, if there is a brain tumor, we developed the first ever product, patented it, licensed it, just so that we all recognize these products are actually used in every hospital here in South Africa. They're used in every hospital across the world, but they're used in your beautiful country too. So that's the level of outreach we have achieved. Discovery program, people with bone cancer, extremely difficult to treat. Almost every cancer is bad, but bone cancer is the worst because the pain in the body is so excruciating. And we developed this first ever product. Same thing. It's called a Pottermat. If you go and talk to nuclear medicine physicians in any hospital in Johannesburg, Cape Town, anywhere in South Africa, Africa at large, it's a product from us. So that's our discovery program. Then we developed an agent for liver cancer, very prevalent when I was studying for this lecture. Liver cancer is very prevalent in this part of the world. And that's again a product from us. And then we did a huge segue, segue from these radioactive drugs to something that we all can think about. That is, can we develop medical products from plants, from trees, from flowers, from leaves or roots? The answer is generally a big yes, especially in this part of the world, because natural healers in sub-Saharan African region, they have been using these naturally grown plants for treating diseases. We're going to be asking several questions in a few minutes. This process of using plants for treating diseases is also there from the Indian subcontinent. Ayurveda, in fact, started almost 500 years ago. So we're going to dive deep into that aspect and see where and why we need to apply sophisticated science and technology to legitimize these medical modalities. I hope I'll be able to answer to all of you, why in the world am I talking about science and technology this evening? And I will show the reasons. If we are collectively able to apply science and technology, it's going to make the kind of difference that we normally call it as a day and night difference. And you will see that. This is the plan. I know time is a limitation. I'll try to run through some slides fast, but I would like to cover many of these important things. Before I start off, I want to acknowledge history has taught us a number of things. To me, I view history as something that individuals have made transformative differences and that have lasted generations. From Martin Luther King to Nelson Mandela to Mahatma Gandhi. And in my opinion, when it comes to scientific validation of plant-based medicine, scientific validation of Ayurveda, I will acknowledge our friend, our leader, Dr. Kumar, shown here is seen inaugurating a Nano care center, a hospital that was developed just out of the discoveries from green nanotechnology, applying green nanotechnology to plant-based medicine, resulted in the development of 40 plus products and have started using those products in their own hospitals. Imagine, we're not just talking about fantastic research. That's pretty boring for normal people. What do they get? We scientists do research, we publish, we patent, we win awards, but the general public will ask questions. They must ask questions, what did I get out of all of this? And that's the answer we have. Well, use those scientific principles through these leaders, easily comparable to any of those leaders I was talking to you about. Anant Kumar Hegde, he came forward to license our technologies and he invested. And now, in about 3 years, through his leadership, we have taken our technologies into the product line, into the marketplace, and the happy news is we are actually saving human lives. You will see the evidence. I'm not going to spend too much time here. I just want to tell you, I also to show you that in the chronology of medicine, Africa is very much vibrant. Its presence is very much there. These are all the different steps. Integrative green nanomedicine, which we are going to talk about, which we started about 35 years ago, obtained the world's first patent, and now we are able to translate those discoveries into products. Again, Ayurveda started 550 plus years ago. It's quite likely that the natural healers within the African sub-Saharan region, they're already using plants. Much of it is not documented, but it's a fair imagination that what was happening in the Indian subcontinent, things were happening here also. So we'll look into, this is an important question. I ask that to all of you. I'm going to be asking those questions myself to clarify some of the doubts you may have. I told you that the concept of medicine did not start from the West. It started in the East. When the Western Hemisphere did have a clue about medicine, medicine in the form of Ayurvedic medicine was thriving. Think about 5,000 plus years ago, people within the Indian subcontinent, they were already using it and they called it as Ayurveda. Ayurveda, hard to pronounce. For all the graduate and undergraduate students and postdocs, I'm not going to let you do that at the end of the seminar. Everybody has to pronounce Ayurveda. Better start practicing it. So, if this modality was going on, along with the natural healers from Africa 5,000 plus years ago, the question is, why in the world less than 1% of the global population use this modality? It's a very relevant question. 98-99% of the populations, they have embraced English medicine or the Western medicine. In some parts of the world, they call it as allopathic medicine. That's got to be a reason. Because the population, they're not fools. They know what they're doing. So, there is work that needs to be done to really bring this ancient medical modality to the same level of reliability that the Western medicines have done. They have done a tremendous job in the last 200 years. Surely there are problems with the Western medicine, but if you look at the reliability, if you look at the manufacturing processes, the science and the mechanism of action, they have done a remarkable job. That is where I think the weakness of Ayurveda along with African medicine, we need to embrace that. We need to introspect that. If we pretended that, our natural healers or the Ayurvedic medicine, it has everything in it, then this question would remain unanswered. So we need to make this medical modality available to everyone. Let's look at the wish list of the global population. World Health Organization did this survey not too long ago. They asked the global population, if you or your family member falls sick, what is your preference? What kind of medicine would you need? Over 80% of the population, can you believe it? Over 80% of the population, they said, would rather like to be treated by plant-based medicine. Why? They felt that plant-based medicine is cool. It's non-toxic. What I can see and enjoy the beauty, if I can also use those plants and leaves to treat my disease, why not? That's exactly the survey outcome. But unfortunately, governments, policymakers, everybody, we have failed to invest in plant-based medicine in ways how the chemical-based medicine got investments within the Western Hemisphere. We did not invest. And the result, we see that the plant-based medicine, whether it's natural healers from here in Africa or the Ayurvedic medicine from India, those modalities, unfortunately, haven't reached the level of reliability that we can go to those doctors, tell them, look, I have this particular disease, arthritis, diabetes, cancer, can you give me the medicine? People don't trust that. Well, let's accept that. So how do we make these modalities trustworthy on par with the Western medicine? Can we do that? We'll try to answer those questions. Very important questions. It's very important. Saving lives of patients should be the focus. This is something I preach medical doctors whenever I go across the world. The objective of any medical modality is not just to safeguard a particular medical modality. The objective of medical profession in general is to save patient lives. It doesn't matter whether a doctor will be using allopathic English medicine, African medicine, or homeopathy, or Ayurvedic medicine. The whole idea is to save human lives. Let's put this slide in context. What happened? Not too long ago, during the pandemic, people started dying because COVID-19 was very deadly. Doctors were caught off guard. They were unprepared with their medications. They administered all kinds of medications, antiviral medications, antibiotic medications. I'm going to come back to that in a moment. But still, we saw populations die across the world. The mistake we collectively did globally was we depended on one medical modality, that is the English medicine. If we had, when I say we, the doctors across the world, if they had the luxury of administering to those patients Ayurvedic medicine, Greek medicine alongside African or Tibetan medicine, maybe we would have seen lower levels of deaths across the world. You might tell me, oh, I'm just guessing, I'm doing guesswork. But remember, the mathematical theory of probability tells all of us, as you increase the number of variables, the chances of success go up. If you're studying in any business school, they say, don't put all eggs in the same basket. It's well known. So we failed spectacularly by depending on one medical modality. That's another reason why governments across the world should be looking at all these alternatives. Maybe there is something in it that saves human lives. And we have a proof for it. Indeed, there is so much in other medical modalities that indeed do save human lives. This bridge has been broken. We have Western medicine, all these medical modalities which existed in prehistoric times, they are not being used actually because there's no science behind it. Governments did not invest to bring them on par with the Western medicine to raise the reliability levels of these medications. So now is the time. Can we build this bridge so that that can save patient lives? Doctors will have the luxury to prescribe Western medicine alongside Ayurvedic medicine, African medicine, so that we give more chances for patients of their survival. At the end of the day, it's all money. If you go and ask an investor, invest in natural healers medicine, invest in Ayurvedic medicine. Because the money has to come from somewhere. Where will that come from? From banks, from investors, maybe from corporations. They need to see return on investment. And the good news is there is significant return on investment in natural medicines. WHO estimates are not lying to us. And the growth is tremendous. There is so much money that those investors who have invested in chemical-based Western medicine, if they started investing in plant-based Ayurvedic or African medicine, there is money to be made. That's an important question to have answered. Now it's the task for all of us to go and present proper proposals, convincing proposals with the data and start seeking those investments so that we can develop these modalities to where they should be. So we are talking about this part. I don't want to get too technical here. This part is this part of the circle is the Western medicine, well known, well developed. Everybody is using, all of you are using. I use if I fall sick. This part is the old, ancient, Ayurvedic or African medicine. Limited use, limited reliability. There are many, many problems. But we are looking at the intersection of the Western medicine with the Ayurvedic and African medicine. This part, this small intersection. And that intersection, trust me, that's where there's a lot of fun. What does that mean? in a physical sense, that intersection we're talking about, we're going to use all those techniques, all that science that has made the Western medicine the way it is, highly reliable, we know mechanism, large-scale manufacturing is not a problem. We're going to apply those rigorous scientific concepts. We're going to apply those rigorous technologies. And one of those technologies, you'll soon see, is nanotechnology. We're going to apply all of that to African medicine and Ayurvedic medicine. When we do that, when we did that, fast forward, we discovered that we get an entirely new medical modality, which we refer to as integrative nano green medicine. Integrative green nano medicine doesn't quite differentiate between Ayurvedic medicine from India, natural healers, African medicine from Africa, entire Africa. It becomes one single solid modality. But then there's one more that we must apply all those principles to African medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, to make this modality as perfect, perhaps even better than the well-known English medicine. Now, geography, God is smiling on all of you. If you tell me that you're from Africa, I would have to tell all of you today you're born lucky. Because the biodiversity, which is the bedrock of all medicinal plants, is not in Mars. It is here in Africa. That all of you should feel proud, all of you should feel happy. But just the plants alone, leaves alone, flowers alone, roots alone, haven't done their job. We're not here to criticize natural healers. We're not here to criticize Ayurveda. We're here to revolutionize the potential of plants by applying sophisticated technologies and start using those technology-based plant medicine for treating diseases. It sounds like a call to ask. I will show you the proof to it. National Institutes of Health, many of you don't know that, is a funding agency within the United States that funds healthcare related research. It is the single largest funding agency on our planet. Its budget exceeds GDPs of many countries put together. And that's the reason why the medical research has thrived within the US, within the Western Hemisphere. But almost all that investment, so-called, was on chemical-based, what we call it as English medicine, Western medicine. But now, National Institutes of Health have recognized there is something in it if we use the plants. So they have set up all these different consortiums to start testing plant-based medicine from Africa, from India, to see if they can bring relief to patients, particularly those patients where we do not have English-based medicines. There are many, many diseases. Think about it. Don't think that with all the advancements, we have medicine for every disease. No, I wish we were at that level. We do not. But there is some evidence that plant-based medicines from India, from Africa, there are therapies based on plants. But those therapeutics are not reliable because the practice did not inject science into it. So we need to inject science into these modalities. And I'm going to basically focus today on cancer. I'm not ignoring other diseases. But if I can show you how plant-based medicines can treat deadly cancers, then you will gain the confidence. I'm also going to touch base on an anti-COVID product we have developed, far superior compared to anything that has been known so far. So, cancer is a deadly disease that kills more people compared to AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria put together. If a patient goes to a doctor, whether it's in Africa, US, China, India, it makes no difference. The patient goes through either the radiation therapy, chemotherapy, very, very deadly to the human body. Those therapies, on the one hand, they're meant to treat cancer, but with the vast majority of patients, they leave the disease drug resistant. So not only they don't treat the disease, they also make the disease resistant to any future therapy. I would say a deadly end. And this is the fact. This is what happens. Then is there any restriction all time to take the 25 minutes is that? Yeah, before I get into that, I want to show you an interesting balance. There's a balance here. You see it's tilting on the left side, right side. All of you are used to balance the weight, 1 kilogram, 2 kilogram, or weight, 1 weight. But this is the life's balance. We call it as hemostasis. All of us need to be healthy. If we need to be healthy, this balance needs to tilt to the left. If it tilts to the right, we start getting all kinds of diseases, from diabetes to cancer, arthritis, brain disorders, name that. So medicines must always, once administered to the human body, must always tilt this balance to the left side. And for many of you, they were too technical, but I just want to tell you there's IL-12, IL gamma, there are some sort of proteins in the body. Having more of those proteins in the body will make us resistant to diseases. For those who have the diseases, if we injected IL-12 or IL gamma, will make them healthy. You'll be surprised soon to see some of the plants actually produce these IL-12, IL gamma kind of proteins. We use reverse engineering. I like medical practitioners, natural healers from this region. They know a lot. We have to accept it. Medical doctors in Africa or USA or India, Europe, they get their degree in 5 years, maybe 8 years. But think about these natural healers. They study healing aspects all their life. Again, that's the beauty. But what is lacking is science. So we have learned from those natural healers, Ayurvedic practitioners, do what we call as a reverse engineering, develop different types of formulations using green nanotechnology. You'll see that decode what was known, test them in small animals, and then understand the dose, bioavailability mechanism, and finally go back into so some sort of interesting reverse engineering. That's what we have done. Very, very technical. My apologies to all of you who are not used to it, but brilliant students in Matrix Lab, they have become experts now. The wonderful students here at the University of Johannesburg, they not only know what is a gold nanoparticle, they also know how to produce them. We have trained them. That's one of our objectives. Within the Kadamba Africa, we have an education component that the Kadamba India will work with University of Johannesburg and Kadamba Africa. So, just for simplicity, I want to tell you, each gold nanoparticle, when you go to a doctor, they will give you a tablet, a pill. I will take that. Maybe many of you may need one of those pills to treat your headache at the end of my lecture. So those pills, there are very limited drug in those pills, not enough to treat the disease. Okay? But when we have a nanoparticle, we can put significantly more amount of that drug without causing any toxicity. How much more? If your drug contains one molecule of the drug, if your pill contains one molecule of the drug, I can put thousands of those molecules of the same drug on one nanoparticle. More than thousands. Now you might go and know the size becomes too big. Guess what? If I'm holding a test tube, if I'm holding this bottle with these gold nanoparticles, each bottle will contain maybe several trillions of the nanoparticles. In other words, if I held a small tube with nanoparticles, you will not even see that with your eyes. They are so tiny. So, nanotechnology, a take-home message for all of you. These are very tiny particles, very tiny, so tiny that touch your hair. Those with some mathematical background, touch your hair, divides the width of your hair by 100,000 times. In other words, each nanoparticle is 100,000 times smaller than the width of our hair. That's the size we are talking about. Why? When you get down to that size, that is the nano size, 10 raised to minus 9 meters. I know, little mathematical, I'll quickly skip that. But this is important for all of you to understand. As you get down to that size, you get different types of properties. These particles are attracted only to the tumor cells. And these particles will get into the tumor cells. And the surface area, this area, is 10 million times greater than larger particles. It's very abstract. I'm talking about smaller size, but I'm saying larger surface area. Those are the rules of physics. That's why nanotechnology, we know so little about nanotechnology. The more you do, the more surprises, the more discoveries. But now what we are doing, we are applying nanotechnology to plant-based medicines. Because many of you know, for example, lots of people say, including in the US, many hospitals, they used to say, drinking tea is good for health. Drinking tea can also treat cancer. That's generally true. But the reality, the science is, for a cancer patient to see some beneficial effect from tea, imagine that cancer patient may have to drink about 25 to 50 liters of tea per day. That's impossible. If you're only drinking 2 cups of tea, it makes you feel good. It has zero effect on your disease. So, you need lots of that plant to treat the disease in the human patients. With the nanoparticle, I can take whatever there in the tea, I can boil it, mix that with the nanoparticle, all that nice part of the plant phytochemical goes on the nanoparticle, then I'll be using nanograms, much smaller amount than milligrams, to treat the same patient. In other words, what is not achievable by drinking kilograms of tea becomes achievable with just a milligram of tea. That is the essence of nanotechnology. It uses very tiny portions. Sounds like a fairy tale, I know that. You'll have to see the human data. So, green nanotechnology, for some of you, looks like this. We take different types of plants, almost everything grows in South Africa. Africa at large. Africa grows a million times more than this, but these are simple examples. Our discovery is that when we looked at these plants as scientists, we looked at them through a different lens. We looked at them and then understood their chemistry, physiology, and then we discovered that these plants have chemicals. Tea has epigallocatechin gallate, mango has aminoferrins, grapes have resveratrol, cloves have eugenol. But each of these chemicals, the animation what you're seeing, they provide electrons. So in other words, all of these plants, actually, we have never eaten mango or enjoyed tea or having a grape juice or a glass of wine, thinking that we're actually consuming electrons. Today we know that. So these plants have the ability to treat diseases because they have actual electrons. Our ancestors, natural healers, from here to India, the Ayurvedic doctors, they knew that. We sometimes ridicule them. Oh, it's the old ways, they don't know. They knew that they had to use the plants. What they did not know, that they were using those plants because those plants had the electrons. They didn't know that. It was our job to understand the science behind that. And this is the science. So if you have the electrons, you can produce nanoparticles as shown here. When those electrons interact with gold, as shown here, they start producing gold nanoparticles, different types of gold nanoparticles, and what is there on the surface are all of these good chemicals. And how much is there? What I was giving the example of tea. Drinking 50 liters of tea will not treat the disease, I was telling you. But drinking these nanoparticles, which will have maybe a milligram, half a milligram, 1/100th of a milligram is enough. You don't need to take the whole plant. You only need a tiny bit of the plant to treat your disease. Yes, that's the essence of nanotechnology. It makes small things very effective. We call it amplification of therapeutic payload. I'll just focus on one aspect here. There are scientists, or if you know, IL-12 is a cytokine that treats diseases. Lots of companies in the world, particularly in Europe, in the US, they're using chemicals that provide lots of IL-12. IL-12, as you remember, that balance, it will shift the body's balance to the left side to make us healthy. But we can also develop IL-12 from plants without going to the chemicals. And this is an example I'm giving. Recently, a patent got issued of this one. It's a plant called Kadamba. It has these interesting phytochemicals. We make these phytochemicals, minimize getting into nitty-gritties of science here. Kadamba company has produced over 500 different combinations of nanoparticles. Imagine, if there's a disease that is untreated here, refer them to Mr. Dabney through Kadamba Africa. They will have a medication for your disease. Yes. Yeah, this is how we characterize. This is for the students. Everything has to go through science. There's a tiny particle that I was telling you, there are lots of techniques. I don't want to go over things here. We calculate how many molecules. I was telling you, each nanoparticle will have so many molecules. The question is how many? For Kadamba, we calculated that each nanoparticle will have 8.8 into 10 raised to 5 molecules of catic acid, 7.6 into 10 raised to 11 molecules of Kadamba. It's a lot of drug in one nanoparticle. And when a dose is given, 10 ml, 15 ml, there will be zillions of nanoparticles per dose. You can imagine how effective it can treat diseases. Yeah, this leads to cellular uptake. I'll quickly go to the clinical trials data. That's what you all need. Mechanistic data for a different day. These plant-based drugs will provide more IL-12. This is IL-12 now compared to FDA-approved English medicine. If the healers, natural healers, are giving those plants, or Ayurvedic doctors in India are giving those plants, look, very little disease healing IL-12 in the plants. But if you put them on a nanoparticle, it goes from 68-fold to 580 times. Just imagine the level of curability, it goes sky high. No one, almost every patient, whether somebody is suffering from second stage pancreatic cancer, fourth stage pancreatic cancer, there are many patients who approach Kadamba with 1 week to 4 weeks of survival. Several years ago, they're still alive, they're hard and healthy, they're leading a normal life. So plant-based medicine, if done properly through green nanotechnology, would save human lives. If you're wondering what is the toxicity of the English medicines, allopathic medicines, as you can see here, they destroy 100% of normal cells. Plant-based medicines, they have no toxicity to normal cells. That's why people taking plant-based medicines, green nano medicines, they are not complaining about any toxic effects at all. They can also take these plant-based green nano medicines along with chemotherapy if they choose to do so. It doesn't interfere. In fact, it makes plant-based medicines makes chemotherapy significantly more effective. Think about that. We have evidence for that. They're not toxic to any body part. They're only localized to liver or spleen. It's not a problem. But these medicines do not go and bother any body part. Clinical trials were told by the government that we need to perform clinical trials on two groups of patients. One group got the plant-based medicine along with the English medicine, which the other group got only the English medicine. So you can see the difference. This, before treatment, this was the oral tumor burden. After treatment, 90 days of treatment, usually these medicines are treated for 90 days. They're all oral doses. And you can say there is a slight reduction in the tumor burden. You might say about 10%, 12%. Some of you might say, it's not that significant. But remember, these patients, they had triple negative breast cancer. They had nowhere to go, only up. Everybody survived in 90 days. Their body weight improved, their eating habits normalized. There were no deaths during the 1980s. They started chatting with their friends, relatives, started going out to movies. They got normal actually, that's all still living. But the best comparison comes from this one. This group of patients, this was the pre-treatment tumor burden, same triple negative breast cancer patients. And these groups of patients got only the FDA-approved chemotherapy. They only got the chemotherapy. They did not get the plant-based medicine. Look what happened. The tumors doubled, tripled, quadrupled. When you compare these groups of patients who had the advantage of having green nanomedicine to those patients who were administered only the English medicine, chemotherapy, comparison is almost day to night actually. So, double, triple, quadruple, and we lost many patients here. We did not lose any of the patients here. So, these therapies work not just for breast cancer, for liver cancer, osteosarcoma, prostate cancer, brain cancers. There's no limit on the type of tumor. Yeah, these are immunomodulatory. That's why they work. We have the world's first patent. It took 5,000 years before we recognize the value of plant-based medicine if it is done through green nanotechnology. But better late than never. Again, thanks to the leadership of Kadamba, and I'm so happy that those roots or those seeds are being sold here in Africa through the leadership of our chief. And Daphne, just want to spend 5 minutes. Antibiotics and antivirals. Many of the antibiotics discovered in the early part of the century do not work because bacteria have become smarter. We call it a mutation. So we need new antibiotics. But I want to touch base on one important aspect. Hate to bring, this is not something we need to be bringing to the memories of any one of us. But in the context of medicine, we need to realize how many deaths this COVID-19 resulted in. 7+ million as accounted for fairly recent results. People continue to die. It didn't spare any race, any group. Now, doing the root cause of why so many patients die, now people are discovering COVID actually did not kill as many people. COVID cause secondary infections in most of the patients. Doctors were giving in blindsided more and more antibiotics. That didn't mean anything for the bacteria which was growing in the body, in the lungs. I'm sure all of you have heard of patients die of pneumonia, pseudomonas in the bacteria. In the later stage of the pandemic, doctors discovered all this pandemic is causing secondary infections. Let's start injecting antibiotics. So lots and lots of patients, US, India, Europe, China, Vietnam, they died of the toxic doses of mixtures of medicines. Now the question, why didn't we give one single medication that would take care of the virus as well as the bacteria? Why? Simple answer. We did not have that medication. There is still no such medication on the planet. A doctor being able to give a patient, take this, this will take care of your viral infection as well as the secondary bacterial infection. Even today, doctors have to give one drug for treating viruses, another drug for secondary infections. That's the standard of care. We have made tremendous difference here. This story, what I'm showing you here, these are the silver nanoparticles, and these silver nanoparticles are produced from a plant, and they're embedded what we call as phytochemicals. Phytochemicals are chemicals from plants. If you have a favorite plant, a rose or a jasmine or avocado, or we could grow a lot of macadamia. Every single one of those plants have chemicals in them. We call them as phytochemicals. And you'll be so surprised to see that the phytochemical we chose to produce silver nanoparticles is shikimic acid. I take the liberty to bore you, all of you, not chemists today, about this chemical, because it is dear to all of us. Shikimic acid is there 60 to 70% in the grapes. Look, so that grows some of the finest grapes, we produce some of the finest wines. Yeah, everybody drinks wine. I drink wine, I enjoy it. If we only put that phytochemical and create nanoparticles, it creates wonders. So that's what we have done here. These are silver nanoparticles encapsulated on the surface with citric acid. Yeah, as shown here. And when we did the testing of this is what it looks like. With the silver nanoparticles on the surface, you have all these phytochemicals. Most abundant is a shikimic acid. That resulted in an anti-COVID as well as an antibacterial product in one product. So we got this patent issue not too long ago, a couple of months ago, the first ever global patent. A single drug that treats both COVID. I'm saying COVID, but that's unfortunately not the last pandemic. There will be future pandemics, unfortunately. It's going to take care of other respiratory viral infections. But most importantly, those viruses produce secondary infections. This drug treats that also. So the doctors don't have to give two medications. We have done the human testing. Everything looks great. This is again a fantastic technology with Kadamba, India, that will soon, Kadamba, Africa will have the ability to access those technologies to take care of the population here. I think this mechanism, we don't have to worry too much about it. I just want to point to all of you, wondering what is the efficacy of anti-COVID treatment? 99.68%. I got the shots from different companies, Moderna, Pfizer, and realized the efficacy doesn't exceed 55%. The best COVID drug today, the efficacy doesn't exceed 55%. Plant-based medicines, 99.68%. Think about that. Yeah, Kadamba company in India, they have saved hundreds of thousands of lives. Patients went there. By the way, it was approved by the Indian regulatory agency. They call it Ayush, the regulatory agency for plant medications, plant-based medications. So that's the oral efficacy mechanism. We don't have to worry too much today, on a different day. So technology is not just there to build bridges where rails and cars can pass. Technology can build bridges, broken bridges, where medications can coexist. So now we have built a bridge through green nanotechnology where Ayurvedic medicine, African medicine can coexist as green nanomedicine with Western medicine. That means doctors can co-prescribe the medications and we're able to build these bridges. Now we have green nanotechnology is not just for disease. Disease is important. Treating disease is for cosmetics and aging. All of those products will be sold through Kadamba Africa. I, for one, would like to look younger. I'm sure many of you will join with me. So we have anti-aging products. We have smart pharmaceuticals, functional foods, that we can read all of that at the end of the lecture. We have these patterns. These are the conclusions. I think I have said enough. Just run through these conclusions. I'd like to thank, as I said, one man, one genius made a difference. He believed in plant-based medicine. He believed in the need to inject technology into plant-based medicine. But Verjukumar from India, who was the president CEO of Kadamba, through his leadership, we were able to develop over 40 different medications, almost 35 cosmetic products. We also have developed the world's first toothpaste that doesn't use any chemicals in it. Yeah. Those of you who are interested in that toothpaste approach, me, I'll tell you more good things about that. We thank all these collaborators, from the US, India, particularly our international colleagues, Katti, I would like to thank the chief, Devlin is soon going to be a doctor. Congratulations, Devlin. Lots of Brazilians from Thailand. I don't know how much time is there for a colleague, medical colleague from India. I delivered a few thoughts. Lots of brainy people. I'm just a spokesperson. People with the brain cell developers, funds from agencies. But just run through some fantastic products so you get a feel. Not going to take much time. It was the world's first now chemical toothpaste, treats any cancer disease. It has become an enemy of dentists because we don't have a global dentist. Just brush it, takes care of your dental hygiene. Face creams makes you look beautiful, look younger. Lots and lots of products. All of that will become accessible through Africa pretty soon. Shampoos, anti-dandruff, lotions, and so forth. With that, again, thank you. Sorry, I took a little bit of time. Thank you. Any questions? Doubts, questions? I usually bring a lot of hats. This time I didn't carry. So the first question will always get a nice hat. I don't have it this time. Sorry about that. Okay. And one show. Yeah, you have anything to say?
I take this?
Yes. Your cut. Oh, okay.
While we connect, perhaps for me, the question would be, from a regulator point of view, one of the challenges that you face when you run trials, utilizing verification for the non-monograms, how do you operate, especially for traditional medicine versus chemical synthesizer?
Yeah, I can speak what Kadamba India did in terms of getting their products approved.
Yes.
They answered every single question that the regulatory agency wanted to see. What is the toxicity? What is the formulation? And regulatory agency for plant-based medicines in India, what is Ayush, AYUSH, that's like FDA. They have certain standards for plant-based medicines. Once you meet all those requirements, they're approved. So they didn't approve just one, two, they approved scores of products because they met all those requirements.
Yeah, but I'm talking globally now because you have pharmacopoeias from different institutions which you obviously have to adhere to their requirements.
Where here in Africa?
In South Africa,
Yeah, but again, in the US, it's a different thing. If a product is approved by one particular regulatory agency or a certain
within the US,
it doesn't need what approved from the US FDA. It is approved from the Indian regulatory agency under that green medicine modality. Patients can be administered.
but you bring it then as human medicine or you bring it as complementary medicine.
Complementary medicine.
Okay, so because that is the issue at the heart of this discussion is that there's a reluctance to recognize plant-based medicine as same as human medicine, like normal medicine, but rather then to try and bypass this thing, then look at it from the complementary medication.
Complementary medication, you can also treat everything what I presented. It had a food component.
Yeah, but
you can use it as a supplement.
The issue, Doc, is that the claims that obviously derive the market benefit, you would not get them in this instance. Because from a marketing point of view, you ideally want to make a claim that's going to compare
It's a medicine.
Compare a medicine. You get my point from a market market point of view.
But there's, I don't know what there's a that or I forget. There's more demand for alternative medicine in the US. People know the moment they start taking chemical-based medicines, it's going to degrade their body.
Yeah.
So complementary medicine, they know that it's coming from plants. Okay, so that level of awareness is very, very high. I'm sure that eventually that will come.
Look, as an African, as a practice of traditional medicine, I understand it's very good. But I just think there is a lot of work we need to do in terms of changing the current regulatory environment because we face a very big task because what you want to do when you bring in these products into the market, you ideally want them to what can I say? You ideally want them to compete fairly with the products in the market. And from that perspective, then we are competing here at the end of the day. We're competing with drugs that cost, for example, HIV medicine costs around 700 rands. Now, if I'm going to import a complementary medicine that I want to compete with the HIV drug in South Africa, and I'm not able to derive a market competitive value, I'm putting myself at a disadvantage. From your experience, what practical insights from the marketing point of view can you share with us, especially from the lessons learned from Kadamba, India, from the commercialization point of view?
Sure. I want to spend some more time with you. Let's listen to that and you and I. So I do have some. Yeah.
Okay, you might want to unmute and then you can start. Okay, let me get your sound feed in.
Okay, is the mic available? I will introduce the doctor.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, just hold it.
Yeah, I know I bore all of you with lots of science, but now you will listen to another lecture by Dr. Verjukumar, who is a very well established, internationally renowned plant medicine expert in India and from India. He has a PhD in plant-based medicine as well as in yoga. And Dr. Verjukumar has been practicing plant-based medicine for a number of years. And Kadamba has been very fortunate to recruit him as a chief medical officer. All the science what I presented, Dr. Verjukumar is using that science through different plant-based green nanomedicine products. For treating, some of those patients, as I told you, they had less than a week, few days of survival. But listen to his patient outcome stories. You'll be so surprised and you'll be so amazed the power of these plant-based medicines. With that, I will hand over the podium to Dr. Verjukumar. Dr. Verjukumar, welcome to this meeting, the gathering of Kadamba Africa soft launch.
How? Increase the.
I'm not getting the volume here.
Dr. Verjukumar, just hold on. He's figuring out how to increase the volume.
Is there any other way?
It's low.
Just 1 second.
Yeah, maybe that. Or from his side, he has to improve.
Sorry. From his side, he's
Check from your side whether you can increase the volume.
No, it's this one is not sending to the speaker.
Oh.
Not yet. Yeah. We are able to hear you, but it has to go across the hall. Just wait 1 minute. We'll figure it out.
systematically using scientific methodology, what are the actual components and their compositions. So as a result, we cannot scientifically quantify the efficacy and safety of traditional formulations or traditional medicine. But nanotechnology gives us a cutting-edge opportunity to validate scientifically the safety and efficacy of these natural remedies, including Ayurveda, natural therapies, even including native African medicine, where we can increase the bioavailability of the herbs, and at the same time we can bridge a sort of scientific bridge between tradition and technology. Nanotechnology gives that opportunity, and we should thank Professor Katti for developing this novel technology, which actually saves millions of herbs which are getting in the verge of extinction. If you see globally, most precious herbs across the globe are getting into extinction range because of over herbal exploitation in the name of nutraceuticals or even herbal remedies or natural remedies. So how do we preserve these precious herbs for our next generation? In the coming generation, they do have to have this kind of natural remedies. To preserve those natural remedies, nanotechnology gives us a very powerful method where we can use a very small quantity of natural product and synthesize these nanoparticles. They are therapeutically very effective. Just to quickly take you through the application part, where we can effectively use this nanotechnology-based natural product. As Dr. Katti has elaborately mentioned the application part, I will just quickly take you through a few areas. For example, the antimicrobial or antibacterial therapies. These days, globally we are experiencing antimicrobial resistance across whether it is developed or developing country. This is something which is becoming an epidemic, where all the sector across the population we are experiencing unprecedented antimicrobial resistance. Unfortunately, none of our antibiotics and antifungal or antimicrobial drugs are helping. That too, post-COVID, we have seen this enormous surge in antimicrobial resistance. So, simple silver-based nanoparticles which are functionalized using the simple neem or even Kadamba or even simple cyclic acid functionalization will help us to get rid of this antimicrobial resistance. We have seen a good amount of data to claim this. That simple functionalized silver nanoparticle can help us to combat antimicrobial resistance. And the most important is anti-cancer therapy, because in our nanocare clinic in India, in Bangalore, I've been treating patients from all stages of cancer, whether it is initially diagnosed stage 1 to the palliative or terminal stage of cancer. We have treated so far 32 different varieties of cancer, common to the rarest ones. We have seen quite a remarkable clinical outcome using this green nano-based formulations, because collectively it is not just the targeted drug delivery which works. The beauty of these phytochemicals which are encapsulated on these nanoparticles, they get released in the tumor microenvironment, and at the same time they get inside the cell through cellular internalization, through receptor mediated and non-receptor mediated, which causes reactive oxygen species, induce apoptosis, passive tumor targeting, especially this EPR effect, and lichen functionalization and photothermal ablation, which again is depending upon how we intervene. But this we have seen in clinical practice here. And the most interesting thing when it comes to functionalized gold nanoparticles in cancer therapy is not only they target tumor areas or tumor specific drug delivery, but at the same time they elevate the entire immunomodulation to the next level, whether it is reprogramming the macrophages and even reprogramming tumor microenvironment, activating T cells, enhancing the antigen presentation, the entire cascade of tumor microenvironment and the environment which favors the process of proliferation can be hampered. This is something which is very, very, very important when it comes to cancer prevention, like especially prevention of metastasis. And at the same time, we do treat neurodegenerative disorders like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, multiple system atrophy, even multiple sclerosis. We have seen quite a good amount of improvement in such cases where hardly we have any treatment to offer, because we have a selective membrane in the brain which is called blood-brain barrier, which almost filters out all the therapeutic agents at the base level. But these nanoparticles delivers the bioactives, therapeutic agents, even at the level of blood-brain barrier and even process. So there are studies, even Dr. Katti's study shows clearly that close to 1% of these nanoparticles get into blood-brain circulation and delivers the drug to the cortical area, the brain area. That is very, very promising. And at the same time, these phytochemicals, which gives rise to a very strong antioxidant efficacy, and at the same time it reduces the entire oxidative cascade and promoting pro-antioxidant capacity. So that gives a very strong positive outlook for these challenging diseases like neurodegenerative. And coming to the next area where we can see, we have seen a very good improvement in the metabolic derangement, what we know as metabolic syndrome. That is again one of the most important epidemic what we are facing globally. Whether it's obesity, diabetes, dyslipidemia, and the array of diseases which are connected to metabolic syndrome. These functionalized nanoparticles inhibits alpha amylase and alpha glucosidase, which again prevents the early breakdown of glucose, especially carbohydrates, helping in maintaining good glycemic level, which again gives rise to multiple other metabolic complications. So there is a good amount of data, even preclinical and clinical, to understand how effectively we can implement this functionalized. The very simple functionalized gold nanoparticle can create miraculous results. So even we have seen in a chronic wound, non-healing ulcers, diabetic foot ulcers, where these nanoparticles have induced a very healthy wound healing environment through limiting bacterial growth and continuously suppressing microbial proliferation and protecting the wound from invasion. At the same time, from the granular level, it supports the fibroblast for re-epithelialization. This gives a very, very supportive environment for chronic wound management. And even we can work on developing bandages which are treated with dysfunctionalized silver nanoparticles. Quickly move to the next good part. We are so blessed to work with Professor Katti because he has given this life-changing technology for our patients. So I am blessed to see the change. To begin with, let me share a breast cancer patient, 72-year-old female. She has been diagnosed with ER and HER2 positive cancer, and she was in stage 4C, where you can see the liver and the skeletal metastasis were there. And treating oncologist told her, because of your age, it is very difficult to treat you with chemotherapy. So she chose to go with hormone therapy with letrozole, and along with, we clubbed our nano-based formulation, functional gold nanoparticle formulation. And by the end of 6 months, you can see the PET-CT difference. It's almost 80% of the disease is gone. I would say it has gone to complete remission. And the outcome, initial prognostic outcome was very bad. But by the end of 6 months, she was able to, move around, do her work, and if you see the quality of life, because we use PLQC therapy to document each case's quality of life, apart from their PET-CT and other quantitative data. If you see, the functional scale has drastically improved over the last 6 months, and the symptoms posed have gone down. So, which clearly state that it is not just the disease burden which has reduced, but at the same time, the quality of life of this patient has improved drastically. So, I strongly believe in cancer care, just not adding years to life matters to the patient. Meantime, we need to work on adding life to the years. So, in this second case, again, 76-year-old male was diagnosed with rectosigmoid carcinoma, the adenocarcinoma of rectosigmoid. So here, in this case, he was undergone around 28 cycles of chemotherapy, but it was not helping. And being elderly, he was not able to tolerate the chemotherapy. So they approached us whether we can help him out. Then again, we started our customized gold formulation, functionalized gold nano formulation, using multiple ayurveda herbs. And post 5 months of only standalone nano formulation treatment, we could see the PET-CT difference. Almost, you would say, 60 to 70% of the disease is gone. So this is something which is very, very, interesting to see. Even post chemo or after chemo, if we use this nano formulation as a standalone treatment, we could see significant improvement in disease condition, and at the same time, again, quality of life has drastically improved in the patient. So this gives both quality of life and disease burden have drastically reduced. Why I chose this two cases here? Because one was along with hormone therapy, and the other one was standalone. In both the cases, there was no drug interaction. Especially we are worried about herb and drug interaction when it comes to combining or integrating natural therapies with standard of care like allopathic treatment. But here we don't have that issue. If you see the third case where a very young lady with very high blood sugar levels which were out of control, her diabetes was not under control. She was on regular anti-diabetic medications from endocrinologist, but her blood sugar was not going down. So despite of that, she was in search of some natural remedy. She approached us. We started her again customized with nano formulation. By the end of third month, if you could see the HbA1c and her sugar levels have drastically reduced. You would say 80% reduction. So this is something which is very significant when it comes to uncontrolled diabetics. And at the same time, if you want to reverse pre-diabetic condition, we can definitely help the patients. So here again, there is no drug-herb interaction because of the size. Compared to the milligram or gram size, nano size is very, very, very small. So that gives us a great clinical leverage to use it as an integrated treatment. So again, quality of life improved. So in this case of metastatic lung carcinoma, especially adenocarcinomas are very difficult to treat. So here again we added our green nano formulation along with their standard of care, and patient responded really well, almost 80% response at the primary site, and even the metastatic site responded really well. So this shows the functionalized gold nanoparticles can be customized based on the condition, and it can be used very effectively even to treat the palliative, because most of the cases whom I have discussed here are all in stage 4 and stage 4C. Even we could get to see such a promising result in the terminal cases. So at Kadamba, our track record stands with, we have treated more than 3,000 cases of 130 different conditions because we have 130 formulations again which are developed based on Professor Katti's technology. We should thank him immensely for his contribution and guiding us constantly with his guidance under our CMD, Dr. Verjukumar's support. We have been successfully treating this number of patients, and I really appreciate for giving us an opportunity to share our journey with all of you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your patience, and sorry for the inconvenience if there are any technical glitches. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you kindly, Dr. Verjukumar, Professor Katti, everybody thus far this evening. We appreciate your time. Thank you for staying with us. I would now like to call upon Mr. Dabney to come forward and introduce the Kadamba Africa commercial lines as well as sales and marketing adventure. Thank you, Professor.
Are we excited? Are we? Very, very, I guess. Because when I went to India and I saw the magic, what you've not seen anything yet. But the good news is everything that I saw in India is coming to Africa. That's good news. You've not seen the Katti reactor. What Professor Katti Kattesh, uses brains to build. That has enhanced the production of all those wonderful things that we have in that body. And you've listened to him, you've also listened to the doctor in India who has treated more than 3,000 cancer patients who were rejected by what? By chemo, rejected by medical doctors. They had told them, count, maybe 2 days you will not live anymore. But this technology, thanks to that great man, brought them back to life, and they are living witnesses of his hard work. I want to apologize for us starting late, and I want to thank you for your patience. Putting all this together has been a wonderful team. Praktik is going, who was the MC, together with his wife. He's the CFO of Kadamba. Just does a brief introduction. And there we have Kosi Moshulu, is the chairman of the board of Kadamba Africa. You've systems work very well. You look at all of these designs, is doing all the IT work for Kadamba Africa. And then Michaela is gone, who is in charge of the marketing. But this is a team that is pulling all of this together so that we can bring this change to our continent. It's a lot of hard work. We're taking it step by step. And I believe that it's through collaboration that we can achieve this. And you've watched the video tonight, and you saw that collaboration is the key. That's what brings wonders. That's what makes evolution, innovation to happen. I visited a function in this same university. It was last year. And I witnessed that there are a lot of researches that have been done in this university. They've come up with wonderful products. But do you know where these products end? Here in the campus. But today, with these presentations that we've seen, with the testimonies that we've heard from India, we can also bring that research to better our lives. I want to thank the team in India who received us. When I went there, we sat down, we talked about how we can collaborate to bring this to our continent. And after that discussion, they said, yes. They didn't just say yes, you will bring all the wonderful products. They said, yes, we are going to make use of your biodiversity. We'll bring the technology to Africa, and we are going to create and innovate our own medicines using ancestral wisdom and knowledge. And that is who we are. Until modern medicine came, and it started changing us, the way we eat, the way we live. But today, we are bringing nature and science to work well, hand in hand. And that is what we've seen in the presentation that Professor Katti presented today. We cannot survive or live a better life in this world without nature. I want to thank also those of you, when we were doing our marketing analysis, you used some of the products, the cosmetic products. You see the way I'm looking handsome, right? Because I use them. And look at Chief. He uses them too. And those reviews that you are sending to us, we thank you so much. It works. The testimonies are just too many. I want to share one with you. Somebody got bitten by, I think, one insect, or I don't know, but the person had the Kadamba body lotion, the miniature ones that we were using for our market analysis. That person just applied on it. The next morning, the person was fine. So, we have, for instance, the cosmetics. Your shampoo now, it kills dandruff. Your toothpaste kills all mouth diseases. And do you know which country is using and enjoying that toothpaste now? Japan. They didn't take 3 months to approve the works of that great man. You are sitting there. Because Japan will rigorously come up with any innovation. They don't just say, oh yeah, it's one. They will rigorously screen it. And when they say yes, are going to be safer, our homes are going to be safer because of the green nano disinfectants. Nothing synthetic. We are just using what? Nature alongside with what? Science. Because before, when our forefathers used the science which they understood, the term that witchcraft. So now there are no excuses. There is no more witchcraft. There is the power of nature, which today we can see in this presentation. And you've heard a lot from the doctor about the green nano medicine. I was very sad when one of our neighbors here, a young boy, I used to want to go out, and I was seeing this young boy, he was a neighbor living here in South Africa. This young boy had cancer. Was very sick. The mother would always take him for chemotherapy. And I was not used to the mother because I come and I go. I come from Europe, stay a couple of months, I go back, then I come. And I told some of the neighbors that I was used to that we have a solution. Let us try the solution. And this neighbor went to the mother and told her. And I was waiting that she would come to me. I would talk to Professor Katti. I would talk to the wonderful team in India, under the leadership of Dr. Anand Kumar, but they never came back. And I went back to Europe. And what I heard was the sad news of the death of that young boy. He died. And it's why? Because we've been brainwashed that natural medicine doesn't work. But you've seen proof that it works wonders. You've seen, listen to an inventor who tells you, I can intensify the capacity of the efficacy of a herb. We've tried it, it's worked, and it will work. So one message I want all of you to take home today, Your Majesties, and academics who are here tonight, is to say the revolution to restore effective healthcare in Africa has begun. We have started that revolution. When I was in India, we sat on that table, we said we know this is a revolution, but we are ready to give our lives for this revolution. Tell everyone when you go home about it. You've seen it. It is not witchcraft. These are scientists, young scientists, African scientists who worked in the lab together. You saw in the video, they were doing the magic. Call it the magic. And we are standing in an institution to celebrate that this technology is in Africa. We've already created the first nano-African medicine using a herb from this land. And that I think you saw thumbs up on the video, because all of us were so excited. In the lab, after the first experiment, and sometimes you have to go through 7, as Professor Katti was telling us, before you could get it. The first one was successful. The next day we came, we reduced the quantity. Professor Katti says, reduce the quantity. From 5, it was 5 ml to what, 2.5 ml, am I right? And what? The results immediately was the same. That tells you that the gold nanoparticles, the work. And it is for us It's going to improve our wellness. It's going to produce smart foods and beverages that our children will not just enjoy them, but they will act as what? Medicines for their body to make them strong, make them more intelligent, healthy, and moreover, to live long. With this technology, I'm going to live 125 years before I die. And that is why we will not wait to bring it to our continent. So, Professor Kattesh, you are God sent. And on behalf of our kings, on behalf of our academics, on behalf of my brothers and sisters that you see here tonight, I want to say thank you so much. You are God sent. And to the team in India, without their help, Chief, we could not have put all of this together. They have been so supportive. But the good news is, they were supposed to be here for this soft launch. But there was a misunderstanding at the embassy, and their visas were given from the 31st of July to the 10th of August. So they are coming. The doctor that you saw is coming. And if there are people you know who are suffering from any forms of cancers, contact us. We are going to make sure that you have that consultation with the doctor when he is here. So it's two of them will be coming, we'll have meetings, and if need be, you want to be part of those meetings and meet with them, please. We have all our contacts, Kadamba Africa, you can go to the website, or you can call me directly if you know me, and we're going to book an appointment with the doctor. And now, you will not wait until we start producing medicines here, nano medicines here in Africa. Now we have access to every innovation that Kadamba India, in collaboration with Professor Katti, has. So you can refer, we can now, Kadamba Africa can now do referrals of some of the patients who are here in Africa, across the continent, to the Green Nano Clinic in India. So if you have a family member, a friend, who is suffering from cancer, or any form of disease, contact us. We are going to plan your consultation. We are grateful that you're here for your first time to listen to and hear what we have been working on at the background here in Africa. But the bigger launch is in a few months' time. That is why we say you go as ambassadors. That big launch will not be on a Monday. It will be on, I think, mostly we're going to see how we plan it better than this. So that you will see a display of all our products, the medicines. So in about 3 months, if I'm not mistaken, Chief, about 3 months. Am I right? Yes. We should be having all the products that you see on your program here in Africa. You can also have access to all of this. So on that note, I want to thank you once more on behalf of Kadamba Africa. I want to thank Professor Joe and the University of Johannesburg for a wonderful collaboration, that you gave us access to use your laboratory. You gave us this wonderful place that we were able to do and organize this wonderful soft launch together. that we have there, thanks to the University of Johannesburg, we're going to continue this collaboration and making sure that we come up with solutions to most of the problems that Africa has. So we will not answer that call that we are the dark continent. I believe that the call now is through this innovation, we can compete and even be the best of the world through collaboration with Professor Katti, Kadamba, India, and Kadamba, Africa, in bringing solutions and innovations that are going to change our lives. So on that note, I want to thank you, my brother, Chief Mashuru. Thank you for your support. Thank you for always being there. I mean, sometimes when I'm like going crazy with all of this work. Thank you for the faith in Kadamba. And to all of you, the royal houses, and academics who are here, we say thank you. Let us continue this journey together. We need you as you need us. So thank you so much. Like I said, we're going to adjourn, and I'll say, everyone, when you go home, get your dancing shoes ready for the bigger launch. We're going to adjourn, but when you're going out, some of the scientists who work with us in the lab will be giving you a bag to go home. So thank you so much. And until next time, at the big launch, where you have the opportunity, making sure that you help others and help others.
Thank you.